Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyday MBA. Interviews with best-selling authors, innovative thought leaders, and top-shelf executives, all sharing their best techniques and tips that you don't learn in business school. I'm your host, Kevin Crane, and I'm so pleased that you're listening. Our guest today is Rocco Carrero. Rocco is a private wealth advisor at Ameriprise Financial Services and an expert in personal financial management. You've seen him in places like Fox News, NBC, and his financial insights have been featured in publications including the Wall Street Journal and Forbes and others. Rocco helps his clients create balance in their work, health, and relationships, and says all three are necessary for creating long-term success in life. He's with us today to talk about his new book, The Three Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners. Rocco, welcome to the show. You know, it's hard enough trying to run a business and support your family and take care of yourself, all of that. The hardest part is really balancing all three. In your book, you say that it is possible, just like a strong cord is made of three similar braided cords. Your life is strongest when all three aspects of it, family, business, and self, are all interwoven. What do you mean by that?
Well, Kevin, about 20 years ago, I started working with highly successful business owners, and I saw that there was three major parts of a business owner's life. I saw that their business was very important to them. Their families were very important to them. And of course, last on the list was themselves as an individual. These are the three important pieces of a business owner's life. And each of those three areas represent a separate chord in the book. And what the three chords is about is that each one individually is nowhere as strong as when all three chords are tightly braided together and all working together at the same time.
You talk about the importance of taking care of your health and balancing work and life, and also building retirement portfolios is beyond sort of the typical approach you would perhaps assume with personal financial management. Those seem like somewhat unrelated things, but perhaps not. Can you describe the synergy?
Well, if you think about doing financial planning, right? Financial planning, when most people look at financial planning, they're just looking at the dollars and cents, which is a very important component in a financial plan. You have to have financial resources in order to achieve your financial goals successfully. But if you achieve your financial goals, however, your life as an individual, your family life, your friends, and yourself as with your health and yourself as an individual isn't taken care of, is that real true wealth, right? True wealth, in my experience, has been all three areas operating at a high level of success, right? Financial, personal relationships, as well as how you operate yourself as an individual.
So there's a lot to consider there. It's your business. It's your relationship with your wife or your husband or your lover, your family, your kids. It's your own mental health, which has been a big challenge, I think, to a lot of us over the last year or so. There's a lot to consider. How do I go about that? Can you help us provide some structure to the effort? How do we do it all?
The key word you just said there was structure. And the only way to do this successfully is through some type of a structure. So whether you use a model calendar, whether you use a yellow pad that you just jot things down, you have to have some type of a system and process in order to work on all three areas, right? So we all, as successful business people, have these calendars that have what we're going to do, who we're going to see, what's going to be coming up next. But on that calendar, do we have when we're going to spend time with family? Do we have on the calendar when we're going to exercise or go see the doctor or do checkups or wellness checks? Or, most people don't. So the only way to achieve all three areas successfully at a high level is to structure it in some type of a model calendar.
And that includes really everything. So it's more than a financial environment that we're talking about. What should I be doing, for example, to be thinking about retirement, but not just in the financial end of things, but more like the elder care end of things? What's your advice for folks sort of like me, for example, getting old enough to where I need to start thinking about that?
That is an important question that that not everybody's thinking about today. So when you're talking about elder care planning, those are, what are the things that could potentially come up? Well, you need to make sure that you've got all of your estate planning documents updated, right? A will, healthcare proxy, financial power of attorney, living will. You need to take a look and see, well, what happens if you need to have some type of extended care down the road? How is that going to get funded? Are you going to use your own personal investments in order to cover that? Or are you going to be looking at some type of a long-term care insurance policy or some type of a rider inside of a life insurance policy? How are you going to fund it? And if you have financial assets, I know a lot of times people say, oh, I'm just going to transfer all my assets and Medicaid is going to pick that up. It's not as easy as you think. And you may not actually get the quality care that you might be accustomed to having Medicaid if you've transferred all your assets out. So planning is really important in that area you just mentioned, which is elder care planning.
Where do you come down on things like long-term health insurance or elder care insurance and how it mixes with Social Security and things like Medicaid? What's your advice in really leveraging all of those pieces for maximum benefit?
Well, Medicare, so you've got Medicare, you've got Medicaid, you've got long-term care insurance, you've got your own pooled assets, you've got Social Security. In the event that somebody was to need to have extended care, Medicare, I believe, picks up basically like the first 90 days of care. After that, you're on your own. And so if you're at a long-term care facility, well, how is that going to get funded? It's either you're going to attempt to try to move towards Medicaid, but this may not be a Medicaid private facility that you'd like, or you've got to use your own financial assets. And the problem with using your own financial assets is that if you need the care and you need to spend down your assets, there may be a significant other, a spouse, that still needs to live off of those assets. So you could see how financially a person could run into serious trouble if they don't have insurance. They're not able to qualify for Medicaid. They have this pool of assets that has to pay for the care that a person might need, but the other person may need to live off of the assets as well. So really good point that you brought up on how people really need to do planning around elder care planning and thinking about these things down the road.
What about for young folks that may not be in the market or may not be saving or really not even thinking about things like this? What's your advice for younger folks? What should they be doing now in order to prepare?
Well, younger folks need to start, think about goal planning, right? So what if they're really, if they're really young and they haven't purchased a house yet, everything ties in with goal planning. So what are they looking to do? Are they looking to buy a house? Are they looking to, if they have a house, are they looking to fund college for kids? After that, are they thinking about retirement planning? These are all real important stages in one's personal financial life on their way towards financial independence. If you do a great job of creating your own financial independence, but you do a lousy job in planning for your future estate planning needs, whether it's elder care, you might have missed something, right? We all hope that we're never going to need to have some type of long-term care in the future, but I think statistics show that potentially 1 out of 2 people are going to need some type of care. So financial planning all along the way, while it might not be as fun as planning a vacation, it's something that's really, I would say, critically important and really should be part of everybody's life.
In what markets and industries do you feel most excited in terms of investment? There's when you think about the overall markets, right, there are 27 different sectors, 14 different type asset classes. And so you think about sectors, financial services, medical, industrials. There's so many different areas that one could participate in the markets. And you kind of just take a look into the future, right? Think about our aging demographic, and healthcare is certainly something that America is going to need more and more of. And there's some amazing quality companies out there that provide they're publicly traded companies that provide wonderful healthcare solutions for people. Those are different areas that people could be investing in. The financial services world, right? You look at financial services, and whether it's companies that are exploring other types of means of providing financial services to people. That's another area people could be looking at. Or you could just take a look at seeing what's happening today with the real estate market, and you say, well, these homes are changing hands. What are they going to need? They're probably going to need to go to some hardware department stores. So lots of opportunity out there.
if people are smart and being selective.
Hello, everyone. This is Craig Ross, co-author of Do Big Things. Kevin Crane is one of the best. It's an honor being interviewed by him on Everyday MBA. All the best. Enjoy your listening, and let's do big things.
It's time to reach new customers in a new way. And you can do that when you become a guest on Everyday MBA. Get your subject matter experts heard or get yourself heard on the show and talk about your ideas and advice. Talk about strategies and tactics that will make a difference in our changing business environment. Find out more at everyday-mba.com/guest. That's everyday-mba.com/guest.
You're listening to Everyday MBA.
Our guest today is Rocco Carrero. He is a private wealth advisor and an expert in personal financial management. We're talking about his new book, The Three Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners. Now, Rocco, speaking of business owners, what are some specific recommendations that you have for people that are business owners in terms of creating wealth with their business, maybe having an exit plan and really making the most of all their effort to build and sustain a business over time?
Well, the first piece of advice that I would tell all business owners, these are new business owners as well as mature business owners that have been around for a while, is that they got to make sure that they're paying themselves first, right? We all have heard that concept, pay yourself first. But business owners are notorious for paying everybody and every bill and everything before they pay themselves. And with that particular type of plan, there usually isn't much left over at the end of the day. I like the concept of a business owner that's going to say, okay, listen, I'm going to put on the table. Let's say that there's a dollars collected, 10 dimes across the table. How many of those dimes are you going to keep for yourself before you start paying everybody and everything else, right? So say you're going to keep one dime, 10%. And if you do that, you take the other 9 dimes, the other 90 cents, and you pay your taxes and your insurances, your employees, and all your other expenses. But you got to make sure that you're paying yourself first, because if you don't pay yourself, nobody's going to pay you.
And businesses and where you work, whether you own the business or you're an employee of the business, has a great deal to do with the quality of life that you have. What is your advice for business owners really looking to engender a great quality of life for themselves and their employees?
We all struggle with that, right? I mean, I wrote the book on it here with the 3 chords approach. And I would say that it comes back to the scheduling. You need to put on the calendar that time for yourself. You need to make sure that your team members that are working for you have those dates on their calendar themselves, because even, terrific team members for employees that you have there, if they're not putting it on the calendar themselves as far as taking time away from the business, they're not going to do it either. We experience it here with right here within our office. Team member just came in. She really didn't take much vacation time. We've been really, really busy. We talked about really the important need for people to separate from the business, to get recharged, doing different things that they really need to do. Business owners need to do that as well. Super, super important. And that just makes the business more productive as well. A really important tip there.
Eventually, all business owners reach the point where they ask themselves, okay, now what? What's next? And that can be kind of scary, but you say it's essential. Why?
It is essential. And you think about it through life. We all, you go through elementary school, you're thinking about middle school and high school and college. You're thinking about relationships, maybe getting married. You're thinking about then getting kids. You're thinking about buying a house. There's always something next. A lot of times with business owners, they kind of lose sight of that, where they kind of get stuck in the business that they're in and they forget about looking forward to something else. Business owners should have some type of an exit strategy, whether it's transitioning that business to other people, family, maybe selling the company. There needs to be something, something else after the business, right? We all go into business for the reason of creating financial independence, looking for freedom, all of those different pieces. But there needs to be something else once we've arrived and we've become financially successful.
I'm so pleased that you're listening to this podcast. If you like what I do, why not let me do it for you? My audio podcasting services give voice to your success and expertise. Do you have a happy customer? Let them tell their story in their own words. Need to get your subject matter experts heard by new clients? Let's do an interview and we'll discuss the topics at hand. Are you an author, an analyst, a C-suite leader? Let me create a custom podcast for you that gets your message out to a new audience worldwide. Want to find out more? Go to cranegroup.com. That's CRAINE, cranegroup.com.
You're listening to Everyday MBA.
We are speaking with wealth advisor and financial management expert Rocco Carrero, and his new book is The 3 Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners. Now, Rocco, can you share a little bit of your entrepreneurial journey? You started learning the ropes of business in your dad's tailor shop. Is that right?
No, my father was a classic tailor of clothing. So in the preface of the book, it talks about me tailoring multi-million-dollar portfolios, but learning the ropes of business at my dad's tailor shop. So my dad had a small tailor shop in our hometown. My parents immigrated from Italy in 1962, and my dad was, left school at the age of 5th grade and started working at his uncle's tailor shop in a neighboring town. And as my dad came to America, he worked for a local tailor in our town. He eventually then took over that business. And so as a kid, I would show up I would be at the tailor, spend a lot of time at the tailor shop. And he had all kinds of different equipment and things, but my dad never really wanted me to, he didn't want me to be a tailor, but he wanted me to take a look at the business aspect of how he handled his customers. He cared about his customers. He listened to them. He would listen very closely to their personal stories. He would listen to their specific needs, and he would adjust the clothing based upon being a really good listener. He did a lot more listening than talking. And that was one of the lessons that I learned about business is that do more listening than talking, and you're going to be able to help the customers more. So I can go on and on about all the great stories and all the tips and things that I learned from just sitting in the tailor shop and watching his interaction with customers and seeing his work philosophy. He was a really, really hard worker. He was there for the customers. He really cared about them. If somebody passed away, he'd go to a wake or a funeral. He was there for the people that he served and the community. And I took all those lessons very much, and I'm applying it right here in the wealth management business as well.
We have reached the action item round of the show. Rocco, I'm wondering if you could please provide us with 3 quick action items that our listeners can do to begin to take advantage of the ideas and advice in your book.
Well, the first thing I would tell people is to go through the process of doing your own personal financial plan. So if you're not quite sure how to create your own financial plan, seek out a good financial advisor that's going to really do a comprehensive financial plan with you. And then, have you really, with goals and really looking at your assets, liabilities, income and expenses, your risk management, your estate planning, looking at all the areas that are important in financial planning. That's the first piece. The second bit of advice I would tell people is that you need to make sure that you take time for yourself. And the way that you do that is that you got to pre-schedule yourself, vacation time away from the office. If you're going to be coaching baseball for one of your kids, all that stuff has to be pre-scheduled. Because if you don't put it in the calendar, the whirlwind will come in and just kind of take that away. And the third piece is make sure you pay yourself first, right? Revenue's coming in, money's coming in, and if you don't allocate some dollars for yourself, you'll end up by paying everybody and everything, and you won't have as much for yourself at the end.
Rocco, it's been great speaking with you today. We're almost out of time, but before I let you go, one last question. You've given us some great advice here today, but what was the best piece of advice that you ever received, and how has it shaped who you are?
I would say that the best piece of advice that was ever given to me was that if it's going to be, it's really going to be up to you in making it happen. And a lot of the great success that I've had in life has been a result of the teamwork and of the people that I've been working with. but the ideas and the planning had to come from somewhere. You can't follow 10 different plans. And so you need to really understand what the advice that was given is that, Rocco, you need to develop your own plan. You need to make sure that you understand it's your responsibility at making it happen. And then you need to work that plan. So planning was the best advice that anybody has ever given to me.
That is Rocco Carrero. Find him at Ameriprise Financial Services and get his book, The Three Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners. Rocco, thank you so much for being our guest today on Everyday MBA.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
That'll do it for this episode of Everyday MBA. And do you want to be a guest on the show? It could happen. Join our Knowledge Leadership Circle and be featured in an interview of your own. Be a guest. Just go to everyday-mba.com/guest for more information. That's everyday-mba.com/guest.